Welcome to Jack Fleming Artistry. Today I'm going to show you how I hand paint the letters on tailgates. I'm going to try and cover all the tools, all the steps, all the techniques and everything that I use to do this. That does not mean that all you need to do in order to be able to do this is watch this video. You still have to develop brush control, and that takes a lot of practice over time. But show you all the steps for it. Let's go ahead and get started. First things first, I've got to prep my surface. I'm starting with some spray away and some blue shop rags. Next up, I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to use wax and grease remover. Here's something I don't always do, but I feel the need to do it today. I've got a 600 grit piece of sanding paper on top of a block here, and I'm going to scuff just the tops of the letters where I plan to paint. Part of this is so that I can see a little bit better where the edges are whenever I paint. And the other part, obviously, is for mechanical adhesion. Okay, I do have a spray bottle here. I'm gonna make sure it's on mist. And it is. So I'm just gonna give that a little spray. And then again, I'm trying to keep this just on the tops of these letters. So I'm making sure I don't put enough pressure to make it fold over the edges. I want to make sure I don't hit these edges out here either. I can also take my glass cleaner rag here, clean that real quick just to see how it's scuffing up. Let it dry for a second. You can see here how that's going to help me see my edge, but I've still got a little bit of work to do here. All right, you can see how that doles that out a little bit, helps me define my edge just a little bit. The whole point in that was to keep from touching those edges. I noticed I touched it once on accident, so I'll have to buff that out, but not gonna need that anymore. My next step is going to be choosing a brush. I want to get the biggest brush that I can work with in this area, so I'm going to grab a couple of big ones here. So now I'm going to take these three brushes and see which one fits the smallest part of this. Can I letter the smallest part with that one? No, it's too big. That one's going to be a little too big, but I think this one will be just right, so I'm using a size 8. Means I'll probably have 2 strokes on my fat parts, but hopefully close to 1 stroke on the skinnier parts. Now that I've chosen my brush, I'm rinsing all the oil that I store the brush in out of it, going from a dirty wash to a clean wash. All right, go ahead and mix up our paint. I'm setting my brush down to let it continue to dry out. I rubbed it in my hands to get the bristles to come completely open so that the solvents are coming out of it and then having an opportunity to dry. I'm going to shake my paint. Got a little nut inside of there. You can kind of hear that sometimes. I'm going to go ahead and get me some paint. Show you guys real quick. I'm not filling a ton of paint up here. I can always mix more. I'm gonna add some hardener. I'm just using hardener from the local like Tractor Supply type place. Actually, this one's not the one from Tractor Supply. It's from a different hardware store. Similar stuff. And I don't need a lot, but I need enough. And it's not a real exact science I was told to that. I was told you could go 10 to 15%, and that's probably in the 10% range. Don't really want to exceed that too much. I am going to add just a little bit of high temp reducer. Again, not a lot. I'm not wanting to thin my paint out a ton. The reason for that is white sometimes is a little hard to get in one stroke. And if I over reduce it, Put too much hardener in it, I'm going to have an even harder time. Close my caps, mix my paint. I'm going to check for consistency by raising it up. It's good and thin, it's running off the deal here. But it's not running off so fast that there's no run and no drip. So, go ahead and get started. Something I haven't really talked about a lot on here before is lighting. If you look at my shop ceiling here, I've got several lights. Here's my workstation. I'm leaving the one right behind me off so I'm not casting a shadow over my own stuff, but then I've kind of made a box of light around what I'm doing. I find that this helps to keep from having shadows from my hand and stuff whenever I'm working, and helps me to see the edge a little bit better. I'll show y'all real fast here. I have in my palette here my cup of paint. I've got a little metal cup here that has a little bit more high temp reducer in it. I'm mostly going to be paletting out of the cup since I'm lettering, but I do have this in case I need to really work it into the brush a little bit more. Might as well show you guys the whole process on paletting here. Excuse the flip-flops down there. But I've got my brush, I'm coming to one side. I'm going to try and stay in that same spot as much as I can. I'm pulling paint from the bottom up the side and then wiggling it, trying to get it in here. I mentioned using the palette. If I want to, I can take a bunch of that paint and come over here and just try to work it into the brush. I'm trying to get all the hairs in there, even in the center of that brush, totally covered in paint. Okay, the other thing that I'm doing, I kind of try to keep that up, but you sort of have to fill the brush out a little bit too. But I want to keep the same sides up so that I'm making what we call a chisel to the brush. This brush doesn't chisel as good as some do, but man, this one turns great. So take a little excess off the sides. I'm going to come right back where I was, and I like paletting in this cup. So let's go paint. Set my camera up so my brush was sitting there without me working it for a second, so I've got to come back and repalette. But we are ready to go. I'm looking at that edge that I created whenever I sanded, so that's going to help me out a lot. I like to take my brush and come in the center for that first bit just to see how the paint's pulling on it, and now I'm going to come up here. And this is how I do it. I know other people are going to do it differently. Somebody with more experience probably has a better way of doing it. Okay. I could have pulled that to a corner, but I had my arm in the way. So I'm going to come back up here. I try to make things have as little brush strokes as possible, because I know that over time this is going to wear, and as it wears, the brush strokes are going to show up. So if I've got a million brush strokes, it's not going to look as nice whenever it wears over time as it is if I minimize my brush strokes. And I'm going slow. I will speed a lot of stuff up in this video. That way it's not too boring. But this is a slow, patient process. And come up here to the top. Okay. I don't have sharp edges, I've got rounded edges, so I'm going to come over here and round that down. I don't know if you guys can see on the camera, I keep repaleting my brush. Okay, I'm going to come way out over here below that edge so that I can hit that curve. When I come up to this corner, try and get that curve. I'm going to come fix this one first. And I want it to be uniform looking. It's not too bad. This top one could use just a hair amount of work. Look more around. It seemed like it had a flat spot in it. It's okay to move around. Oh, I got a little goofy hair. I don't know if you can see that coming off the edge there. Just not come off. Okay, moved around so I could see what I was doing a little bit better in this corner. Right now I'm doing what I call laying off the brush strokes, right? I'm actually, can't see it on camera, but I dipped the tip of my brush in that high temp reducer over there. Repaleting. Loosen that paint up a little bit. We have hardener in here, so that paint's gonna harden up a little faster than normal. That hardener helps it bite into the surface a little bit more. My understanding is it helps it be a little glossier. Gloss is cool as far as looks, but gloss too serves a purpose in paint of helping things last better, stay cleaner. If any of you guys have ever had a matte finish paint job, you know it's a little harder to keep clean. Sun fades a little bit faster. Okay, not perfect yet. I keep walking around to get better angles on stuff. It's something I can't do if I was working on this on the truck, but since I can do it, I'm going to take advantage of it. And again, I want to lay those paint strokes off. I'm going to come up here and get a little bit more paint, and I'm going to come right over the top of this again, making it a more minimal amount of paint strokes. The other thing I'm doing is looking for not necessarily holidays, but spots where the paint is a little bit lighter. I had somebody ask me recently, what's a holiday? It's a spot where you missed a little bitty spot. Paint went on holiday. Okay, I'm going to do this letter, and after this one, I'm going to put this on time lapse, because all these letters are really the same thing. Curves in the edges, straight lines. Even the O doesn't have a whole lot of curve to it. It's just curves in the edges. Again, I'm coming in the middle. I'm coming up here where that curve is, and I'm scooting into it a little bit. I find that that makes a nice round edge. Trying to pull this straight. This is where that practice for brush control comes in. I'm not one of these guys that's been doing this for 40 years. As far as lettering is concerned, I think I've got 5 years in. I am learning all the time. I am not a master at all. Had somebody comment one time and say at best I'm a journeyman, and I 100% agree. If I'm even that good, I guess. Always trying to learn. So I'm going into that corner, pushing sideways with my chisel edge, and then I'm curving it and pulling down. Okay, I'm going to start on the center part inside of here, find that curve, turn it, pull down. When I get to this bottom part, I'm actually going to try and curve it back a little bit, but I know I missed the mark. Which is alright, because I can come over here, change my angle, and hit that mark a little bit better. Might even flip my brush and go up this way. I like to keep working across. Comes from back in the day whenever I used to paint houses. Always trying to work a wet edge. That way there's not a line where, you know, one stroke is dried out and now I've put a new stroke of paint over the top of it. Do it with a brush, do the same thing with the sprayer. Just coming through and making sure that that curve right there is good. While this paint's still wet there, just reduced my paint a little bit more again. I'm going to go ahead and go over this side really fast and minimize brush strokes. Laying off the brush strokes. And then now I'll do this other part. Like I said, all the other letters are going to be the same thing. I'm tilting my brush in a little bit to get started here. And come in and get this edge first. Now, if you do make a mistake, just wipe it off. You know, take a little bit of mineral spirits on your rag and just wipe it clean. Start over. No shame. I guess if there is any shame, it's shame in not fixing your mistakes. That's shameful. Try to get that rounded edge there. Now my brush is loaded heavy, and I just talked to you guys about making mistakes, and I'm on the edge of one. It's not a big one, but that edge does not look good. So I get to show you fixing a mistake. I'm just going to take my brush, load it up, set it over there on my palette. Grab my rag. I just put a little bit of mineral spirits on it. I'm actually going to take that and put that over here to this edge. I'm going to start across that top corner, wipe down, and there's a little part of the paint that came out that way. So I'm going to come back to this corner and I'm going to wipe into it. And I don't know how I did it, but I'm looking over here and I see a drop of paint too. So wipe that off while I'm at it. Note there to not overload the brush on these skinny strokes. I could probably get away with using a smaller brush. I don't know, I'm in the habit of trying to use the biggest brush that I can for something. I find that it minimizes paint strokes, helps me get the job done a little quicker. Of course, making mistakes slows you down, so maybe in some ways it's not making it quicker. Working these corners. We need to work this corner up here. I like that slow is fast thing too. If I take my time, I usually make less mistakes. Can be a little bit more accurate what I'm doing. When I do that, it's faster. I want to make note that it takes time to develop brush control. This video is not intended for somebody to watch it once and go do their own tailgate. It's more intended for somebody who's learning this and hopes to continue to do it for multiple people to see what all it takes, what materials they need, and really the whole process of what they're getting into so they can continue to get better with it. Since we're making this video kind of comprehensive, it's not done until we clean up our mess. So I'm going to start by cleaning up my brush. I'm going to start actually by just kind of wiping some of this out so that there's less to get in my solvents. Squeeze that over in there. This rag's about done. I'm going to Swizzle, swizzle. Okay, it's starting to get the paint out, but not all of it. I'm squeezing, I'm pinching between my fingers, I'm not pulling on the hairs. But I'm gonna keep doing this until I feel like I've got most of it out. This first jar that I'm working out of here is mineral spirits that I use as my first rinse. It's actually, if you can do a 3-jar rinse, it's even better. But I carry 2 with me in my box. Takes up a little less space. Maybe I'll switch that over at some point in time. It actually looks like all the paint's coming out pretty good. I'm looking at my rag and trying to see if I see white. I'm looking at the hairs and looking for white. I'm gonna go ahead and go over to my clean. It's faster than I thought it'd be. Which means I'll probably clean in this more than I normally do. In my clean jar, that is. So again, just patting, looking at what's going on. They make brush cleaner out there. I don't use that all the time, but I do like every now and then to go through and take my brushes and go through some brush cleaner, not just mineral spirits. Okay. I use lacquer thinner as little as possible for cleaning brushes. When I'm using urethanes, I have to use lacquer thinner, so I do use it sometimes. But I try not to use it too often. It's a little harsher on the hairs. But again, if you're using urethanes, it's just what you got to do. Now, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in my brush oil, which I happen to be going through pretty fast lately. I like to just put it all the way down in there, come up, and I can actually tell right now if I got that brush clean enough, because that oil will loosen all that paint up in there. And I can see a little milkiness there. So there's a little bit in there. I'm going to work this in really, really good. And I'm actually going to clean it one more time. Might not need to. I like to try and keep my brushes as clean as I can to make them last as long as possible. Again, go into that dirty jar first. Keep all my oils in it. We'll do it twice. And then I'm going to go back to that clean jar. Okay, get everything out. And go back to my oil. This time I shouldn't have as much milkiness, if any at all. Let's hope for none. And I'm seeing none. So I like to take these and go ahead and bring them back to a chiseled edge and store them that way. All right, I'm about to flip this up and show you guys a good view of the finished on it. But before I do, if you like this channel, don't just hit like and subscribe. I know I say that all the time, but I think it might help us out even more if y'all share this video with your friends, share it on your Facebook. More views we get on stuff, the more that's out there, the more people get to see it, and hopefully gets in the eyes of somebody that it helps. And hopefully this helped you. Hopefully you think of somebody else that might help. Let's go ahead and check out the finished. Flip it up here. Again, if y'all like this, hit the like still, but share it. Click on one of the other 2 videos that comes up, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.